Welcome along to the TABtouch preview for AFL Round 14. David Shortte and Digby Beacham with you. G'day, Diggers.
Shorty, good morning. It's a new week.
It is a new week. Thank goodness for that. Let's start with this clean page and hope that this nightmare of a season gets a little bit easier this time around. It all kicks off this evening at Adelaide Oval, where Adelaide take on Hawthorn. $1.08 for the Crows. Hawthorn at $8. It's a big line set at 51.5. Well, given that we have seen some upsets through the year, you wouldn't say that they're an absolute lock here, but I would expect that Adelaide should be able to take care of business and win pretty comfortably against the Hawks tonight.
Surely they're a lock, Shorty. I think Adelaide had their bye, as did Hawthorn last week. Gives the Crows a chance to freshen up. They're pretty healthy at home. We know they're a pretty dominant force at Adelaide Oval. Hawthorn haven't got a good record there of late, certainly this year, but the Crows for mine end comfortably.
Yeah, I like them at the line here, Adelaide. I thought that, you look at their work so far this year at the Adelaide Oval, and other than that game against Melbourne where they were defeated, they've really toyed with teams on their home deck, so I think they'll get the weekend off to a flyer. Kicking off to Friday night action at the SCG, Sydney doing battle with Essendon, $1.40 here, the Red and Whites, the Bombers at $2.90, the line set at 16.5. Well, all I can do is tip my hat to Sydney. They've now won 5 of their last 6 games. They looked right up against it at half-time last week against Richmond. But importantly for them, they found a way to keep their season alive, Digby.
Yeah, they did. They hunted Richmond, didn't they, in that second half last week, Shorty. I've gone against them the past 2 weeks and have been proven incorrect, so I'll jump back on the Swans bandwagon this week. I like the way they're going about their work. I think they can win.
Yeah, they've really found their stride in recent times. As I said, winning 5 of their last 6. Their season's still alive. Pretty much every game they play at the moment is like a mini final for them, and they're really seemingly really enjoying the challenge that's there for them at the moment. This is a game they really should take care of business up against the Bombrays. On to the Saturday games at the MCG. Collingwood doing battle with Port Adelaide. $2.07 the Black and Whites. Port Adelaide at $1.75. The line's a skinny one, set at 3.5. Collingwood, they've been a bit of an up and down sort of a side this year. Port Adelaide have probably been a little more reliable, but Collingwood do have home ground advantage in this one.
Found this one really hard, Shorty. I'm just a little bit alarmed at Port's form the last couple of weeks. They got that hiding from Essendon and they had to work overtime to get over top of Brisbane at home. Melbourne is going to dish up a really wintry Saturday afternoon of football. Collingwood are okay. Their form lines are good. I've tipped Port, but with not a great degree of confidence, but I'll tip the power just.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a flip of the coin job, though, just about this game. Collingwood's best this year's been pretty solid. If they can front up and kick straight, that's often the key to them, what they do in front of the big sticks. But if they've got their kicking boots on, they're well and truly capable of testing Port Adelaide, one of the trickier games of the weekend. We head up north to the Gabba, where Brisbane take on the GWS Giants. $5.75 for the Lions. The Giants at $1.14. The line set at 33.5. Well, the Giants, they just tick along. Of course, they had that loss to Carlton, which was uncharacteristic. They'd been winning the close games. They weren't able to win that one. Brisbane, of course, beat Freo a couple of weeks ago. They weren't terrible last week on the road either, I didn't think, Brisbane. That said, you'd expect the Giants to go and take care of business here.
Couldn't agree more, Shorty. The bye gave them a chance to reset. They've got some injury concerns regarding Josh Kelly. Whether he plays or not will be revealed later today, but GWS look to have too many weapons for the Lions.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just that scoring power and midfield ability is phenomenal with the Giants. They look like they'll get on top of the Lions in that one. Etihad Stadium on Saturday, the Western Bulldogs do battle with your boys, the Kangaroos. $1.47 the Dogs, $2.65 for North Melbourne. The line set at 13.5. It's high time the Bulldogs pull their finger out, Digby.
Yeah, I agree, Shorty. We thought it would happen last weekend and it didn't. Look, these two sides are coming off their worst performances of the season, both at Etihad Stadium. We know they played a cracker earlier this year on Good Friday. I'll tip the Bulldogs, but they need to find a length. They need to get on their bike.
Yeah, they do indeed. North disappointing as well over the last couple of weeks. Both sides, this is their opportunity to get back on the winners list and straighten things up. And rounding out the Saturday action here locally at Domain Stadium, West Coast play host to Melbourne. $1.42 for the Eagles. The Demons at $2.85. The line set at 14.5. Well, West Coast have got a real dominant record against Melbourne at this particular venue in recent times, Digby.
They have indeed, Shorty. Melbourne haven't won here, I think, since 2004. But if you cast your mind back 12 months ago, Melbourne really stretched the necks of West Coast here and dominated in every area but the scoreboard. Really looking forward to this game. I'll tip the West Coast because it's at home, but Melbourne are a side on the march. I'm really impressed with the way they're going. West Coast for mine.
Yeah, just obviously Jones out's a real hurt factor for them. Maxi Gorn back in is big though, and from a West Coast perspective, obviously no Josh Kennedy, not ideal for them either, but the big man expected to be back next week. On to the Sunday fixtures, Geelong taking on Fremantle, $1.15 the Cats, Freo at $5.50. This is of course at Simmons Stadium, a ground where Freo have had a bit of success winning 2 of their last 4 visits to the ground. The line set at 38.5. As a rule though, Freo, their 3 games prior to the break were dismal. Geelong, on the flip side, have had a pretty good season to this point in time, and they're deserved favourites.
Yeah, they are, Shorty. You look at Fremantle, their form on the road recently has been poor. Their first quarters are really poor, and I can't see how they kick enough goals to win this game.
No, I'm with you. I think the Cats win and win pretty well, and it'll be interesting to see how Freo finish the season off, because they had a terrible first 2 weeks. They really seemingly turned things around, but those 3 weeks before the break, the wheels were really off. Will the 1 week break for Freo prove the tonic they need to turn things back on and get that go switch back going? We'll find out more on Sunday. Richmond doing battle with Carlton at the MCG on Sunday, 147 the Tigers, the Blues at 270, line betting set at 13.5. Well, Richmond coughed up that game against Sydney last week. They looked to have complete control, were dominating as far as possession and the ball, weren't quite able to put it all on the scoreboard, and Sydney were all over the top of them late. Carlton, well, you've got to tip your hat to Brendan Bolton. They've been a real surprise packet to me this year.
Yeah, they have. Can't disagree with that at all, Shorty. Love the way they're going about their work. Bryce Gibbs is in some rare form. Not only finding the footy, but doing team things and leading like an elite midfielder. So really looking forward to this game. 2 traditional rivals, MCG, Sunday afternoon. I've lent towards Richmond, but I don't think there'll be a lot in it, Shorty.
No, I'm with you. And you know what happens when Richmond are involved in close games, Digby. It's not always the side you want to be on when there's a side within 2 goals and closing in the last sort of 8 or 10 minutes of a game. So I expect this to be one of the games of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to the Tigers and the Blues clash. And it all rounds out at Etihad Stadium, where St Kilda take on the Gold Coast Suns, $1.24 the Saints, Gold Coast $4, line betting set at 26.5. Well, St Kilda, they've sort of really teased us throughout the course of this season, Digby. They've had some performances that have been really encouraging, and you've sort of thought, wow, they're on their way up, and then games that they should probably have won, something like this that they take place in on Sunday afternoon, they've managed to drop, and it's an important game for them to make sure that they have the first half of the second batch of the season in winning form.
Yeah, agree. They need to continue on what they performed like against North Melbourne. They weren't great, but they probably should have won by more, Shorty, and Gold Coast at home were dismal against Carlton. It was an opportunity lost there. Gary Ablett plays his 300th game. Congratulations to him. He's been a wonderful player. We all know that, but I fear he's going to be waging a lone hand in that midfield against St Kilda. St Kilda for more.
Yeah, I agree. They have got the grunt through the little there. They're not massive men, St Kilda, but they have got the leg speed through the middle of the ground. Gold Coast may struggle to hold them out. All right, well, let's recap those tips, Digby. It's unanimous. Funnily enough, we've managed to throw the same darts at the same board. It's Adelaide tonight to take care of Hawthorn, Sydney to be too good for Essendon, Port Adelaide to knock over Collingwood, GWS to be too strong for Brisbane, the Western Bulldogs over the Kangas, West Coast at home over Melbourne, Geelong to be too strong for Freo, Richmond to take care of business against Carlton, and St Kilda over Gold Coast. Let's get into the betting for this weekend. Digby, what are we doing from a multi perspective?
I've gone GWS to win, into Geelong to win, into Richmond under 39.5, Shorty. That's paying $2.68.
Seems like a pretty solid play this weekend, Diggs. Look, I'm going with Adelaide tonight. I've gone conservative on the line. I think they'll probably cover the 51.5, but I've gone 34.5. So if they don't really blow them away but still win comfortably, we're good to go there. Into Sydney to win, Geelong to win, the Giants to win, and West Coast at home against Melbourne. $3.67 for that particular multi this weekend. Let's get into your novelty.
Going tonight, Shorty. Most disposals Group A. I've settled on Matt Crouch, the left footer from Adelaide, who can find the footy. He is $4.25 to get the most possessions Group A this evening.
Alrighty, so Matty Crouch will be cheering hard to get plenty of the pill. Like last week, I'm going to split them up first goal scorers, and 2 of my favourites. Eddie Betts tonight at the $8. Little Eddie back into the first goal scorer swing of things in the last fortnight. $8 looks good about him. He generally does it 5 or 6 times a year. And the other man, well, he missed out last week, Ben Brown, but the numbers, they're compelling. 8 out of the last 17 games is still a pretty handy strike rate for a guy that's going to go around $9 or $10. I'm going to butter up and stick with him. So Eddie Betts and Ben Brown, first goal scorer for me for this weekend. Watch out for the first goal scorer special on selected games this weekend with TABtouch. If your player doesn't kick the first but kicks the second or third, money back up to $50. Good luck if you're having a punt. We'll be back next week with more here, all courtesy of TABtouch.